Hello everyone, welcome to Tech with Machines. Today's topic is interesting. We are going to talk about a very basic concept, identity and equality. We are going to figure out the difference between both of them and what really Python uses to represent each one of them. And if you are familiar with Java as a language, you will know that there is something called a hash code and an equals method. It really talks about whether the two objects are actually equal in terms of their address space or whether they are actually equal in terms of their value. So, in short, in object oriented references, variables are generally the references to named objects, which means that the object should be there before you can refer it with a variable. Variable is just a reference to a space in memory, it is pointing to a space in memory. And you assign really a value, you assign really a variable to a value which is already created. That's why when you are actually doing an assignment in Python, specifically what we say is that the right hand side is implemented first, and then once the object is created, the variable is assigned to that object. It's not the other way around. So without any delay, let's understand first what does identity really mean. So what I have done is I've created a very simple example here on the screen. As you can see, there is a person, let's say Carlos, whose pet name is Victor. So which means Carlos is also known by the name Victor because his friends call him Victor as well. But in general, the information about Carlos is that his name is Carlos and his year of birth is 1989. So when Carlos has a alias name as Victor, even if I refer Victor, he will still give me an answer that his year of birth is 1989, right? Which means the identity of these two variables or these two person who are referred by different variable names is still same. That is what isOperator does. IsOperator basically checks whether the identity of the two variables is actually pointing to the same object. So how does it do that in Python? We'll just see. We'll just create the variables with the same name, reassign it, and then see what really is happening behind the hood. Let's jump into the code and let's write this code in Python. So let's start the coding part of the same thing. What I'm going to do is I have created a file called identity here. So I'm going to create two variables, one Carlos and one Victor. First, let's instantiate Carlos. So this is going to be a dictionary. So I'm going to give name as the Carlos, and second key will be year of birth. So we are going to say year of birth is 1989. Now when we are going to create Victor, we are going to assign it the value of Carlos. Now if I do print Victor is Carlos or print Victor ID of Victor and print, now why we are doing ID I'll just show you in a bit. Print ID of Carlos. So let's run this here. So we are going to say Python and we are gonna run the identity.py. So you see that, okay, yes, Victor is Carlos, that is true, and the ID of the Victor and the ID of Carlos are same. So basically what I wanted to show was that, okay, we are saying Victor is Carlos, but what does that really mean? That means that they are referring to the same address space in memory. So ID in most of the Python interpreters is memory address. In few Python interpreters it might mean something else, but in most of the cases it is the memory address of a particular object. So yes, we say that both are pointing to an equal identity. So this means that they are actually having the same identity, right? Now if I try to do the comparison operator here as well and try to compare, is Victor equal to Carlos? Yes, it will also say me yes, it is true, because they are having same set of values. So really they are true in terms of values as well. So they are fulfilling the equality objective as well. But what is the key difference? Let's say there is a second person who is Pablo, who is trying to steal the identity of Carlos by just actually replicating whatever information Carlos has. So let's say I am gonna say I have misspelled Carlos here, so we're gonna go with the same value. I'm not gonna fix this. So let's say I'm giving exactly same set of values to Pablo, and then I would like to check whether Pablo is equal to Carlos. If I'll run this, I'm gonna actually remove the other values from here so that we can only see this particular thing. So let's clear this up and run it again. Yes, they are equal, which means that yes, they are having the same set of values. They are equal in terms of values. They are fulfilling the equality object. But are they equal in terms of identity as well? Are they referring to the same address space? Let's try to check that as well. We'll say, is Pablo is Victor or Carlos for that matter? So let's try to check that. Now also print the ID of Pablo and print the ID of Carlos as well, right? So this definitely should give false, and IDs also, if you will see, they will really be actually referring to the different space. So let's run this. So yes, they are equal. So first is true, line number 5, that yes, they are equal in terms of values, but are they pointing to the same identity? No, their address space is completely different. They are pointing to completely different address space. Now which one to use when? Generally our main intention in Python is to do the comparison of the values and the comparison of the identities. So mostly we should use equal, but I'll just call out that equal is operator is more faster than equal, because equal actually is an operator. It's actually the overloading of a equal method in Python, equal implementation, and each object can have its own implementation of equal. So it has to actually go through that overloading before it can say that the values are equal or not. Is by, on the other hand, is just the identity verification, whether the address space to which the two variables are referring is same or not, right? So but generally it would be better to use value comparison than the identity comparison, because you mostly want to check the values are equal or not, right? Also one of the other cases that generally is can be used with singleton objects. So mostly none is a data type in Python, you know that. So if you want to check whether the particular object is existing or is having a value, then is not none or is none is preferable, right? So you can use is there. That's one of the use cases of is where you can use it. But in general, the value comparison means a comparison operator, correct? So this is what is the key difference between identity and equality, and how identity actually is about comparing the address spaces, whereas the equality is more about comparing the values. I hope you liked the video, and I hope you will subscribe to this channel. Have a nice day and happy learning.